Hi guys, welcome to our first lesson on HTML. In this lesson, we'll cover what HTML is, how to set up your environment, and we'll also dive into a simple project to get you started. Let's know what HTML is. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's a standard language used to create and design web pages. So think of HTML as a skeleton of a web page. It provides a structure, while CSS and JavaScript add the style and interactivity. So by structure or skeleton of a web page, visualize the human body is made of skeleton. The human body is not complete if there is no skeleton to it. So the skeleton is what makes the body move. It is what is holding the flesh. It is the skeleton that holds every other part of our body together. So without the skeleton, the flesh will not work. Without the flesh, the skeleton will also not work. So the skeleton as a structure needs to be there for the body to work. And then you cannot just move just skeleton. It won't work. So we will have the flesh, the eye, the skin, the finger, all those stuff added to it, which is now the CSS. For the JavaScript, it is now interactivity. So moving your fingers, moving your hands, turning your head, walking, all those locomotive activities is now interactivity, which is going to be JavaScript. We will learn that as we move ahead. So how do you set up your environment to start setting up our environment to start coding in HTML? We need text editors. So the text editor is where you write our HTML code. You can use simple text editors like Notepad for Windows or TextEdit for Mac. But it's also always better to use a code editor like Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. These editors provide syntax highlighting other useful features. So with Visual Studio Code, I use Visual Studio Code. I do have used Sublime Text before, but I use Visual Studio Code now. You have some extension that makes it easier for you to code. Something like Emit. Once you start coding, it completes your code for you. And every other extension that we are going to see in the long run. And we also need a web browser like Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and other browsers. This is where we are going to view the HTML file. So how do we install this Visual Studio Code that we'll need to use? So we'll go to Visual Studio Code, code.visualstudio.com, and we'll follow the instructions for operating the system. So let's look at that. So we'll go to Visual Studio Code, code.visualstudio.com, and we'll click on the first one that we've seen there, Visual Studio Code. You click on it. When you click on it, you go to Windows and click on it. So immediately you click on Windows, it's going to download Visual Studio Code for your Windows system. I'm using Windows. If you're using Mac, you go to Mac and click on Mac. It's going to download Visual Studio Code for Mac too. So once it's done downloading, you double click on the setup that was downloaded from your download and it will start downloading. I've already installed mine. So double click on it and follow the prompt. If you have any issues while installing it, please go to the comment section and write down the issue for me and send. I'm going to respond to you as soon as I see it. So if you're done installing, we'll create our first HTML file. So to create our first HTML file, we'll open the Visual Studio Code. We'll go to File, click on New File, or we'll press on our keyboard Control and N together if you're using a Windows system, or Command and N together if you're on the Mac system. We'll also go back to File and save our first file name as index.html in a new folder. So let us do that now. So to begin creating our file, we need what we call the document structure. So we need to declare the document type. Then we also need to invoke the root element folder and every other child folder or children folder that will be under the HTML root folder. So the first thing we're going to do as we are coding is to code the HTML structure. We have to call the HTML structure. Without the HTML structure, it will be difficult for us to arrange and layer our page in a way that we see in other people's website and that is very fine and beautiful and cute. So to code structure, we have to like type HTML5 and HTML quick. Or we use shift and key. So shift and apostrophe or shift and one key, and then you click the first one. It's going to populate the structure that we are going to code on. So if you've done that, you will see something that looks like what is on this script that we are looking at for. So you see the doc type HTML. The doc type HTML declares the type of and the version of HTML that we are using, which is HTML5. And this the HTML followed by it, immediately following it is the HTML, which is the root folder. And then in the HTML, it has two children, the head and the body. So the head contains meta information about the document that we are going to talk about much more in the border skill later. And it also contains the head contains the title. This is going to be the title of our document, and we also have the body. The body is also a child of the HTML. It will contain every other thing that we want to put or render that we want it to show on the web browser is going to be in the body. So the first title is going to be my first HTML page. So we type my first HTML page and you save it on your system. If you don't have if it's not on auto save, you can go to control save. You can control save and then it will save it, or you go to file and go to auto save and click on auto save. So whatever you do automatically saves. So in the body, we want to introduce two tags. The HTML tags are head H1 and P tag. So the H1 tag and it's going to have the content in it, hello world, and you're going to have a P tag directly following the HTML tag. Notice that once you click on the tag, once you just type the tag H1 or P tag, it just completes for you because you're using Visual Studio Code or you're using Sublime Text. It just completes for you. So this makes it easy for you to code. Okay, so this is my first HTML page. So this is the body tab. So congratulations, you have done your first coding of HTML, and then we want to render it on the browser to see how it's going to display on the browser. So we see that the head, the H1 and the P tag are rendered very well on the browser. But there's a difference between the font weight of each of them. The H1 tag has a very thicker font weight, while the paragraph tag has a lighter font weight. So everything has already been set already. So using this H header one tag or using the paragraph tag depends on the situation, what you want to do. You know when to use what. So everything that we have learned today, we can look at the doc type that you see there. As I've said earlier, declares the document type and version of the HTML. The HTML is the root element of the HTML document. The head contains meta information about the HTML. The title sets the title of the HTML, displays in the browser, and the body contains the content of the web page. The H1 defines the top level heading. They're also going to look at other H header tab. The paragraph defines the paragraph. So I'm going to give you a mini project that you're going to work on, and the mini project is going to be about a personal introduction page. So you create a personal introduction page using HTML code you just learned, the H1 and the paragraph tag. So you write your name in the H1 tag and then a short paragraph about yourself in a paragraph tag. Then you save the file as personalintro.com. The link to my Telegram channel is there. You can join my Telegram channel, or when you're done, you can render it on the browser, take a snapshot of it, and upload it right under this project page. And let us see your work. So that's it for today's lesson. You've learned the basics of HTML and you set up your environment. In our next lesson, we dive deeper into HTML tags and elements. So make sure you practice what you have learned today. Create your own HTML page. Until next time, thank you.